Hey guys, how are you? It's me. Okay, so bear with me because it's pretty not natural for me to come up on here and speak. But I have a topic that I wanted to discuss, and um, I finally have come to realize it, so I wanted to share it with those who the message is for. And I wanted to get really real about the ego and spiritual lessons and the role that the ego has for us, okay? So, the only way that I can really start talking about these things in a way that is the most natural and the most at flow for me is talking about my personal experience and then segueing into what the lesson is. So, for me, I have been really frustrated with myself recently because I came to notice that I felt like I was getting in a loop where I've been in spirituality for years now. I think almost 10 years now. And I came to find that recently I feel just as unhappy as I was before I found spirituality. And when looking into why that was, I really got to see that I had forgotten so many of the lessons that I had come to learn. Like, I keep on finding myself relearning and re-resonating with lessons that I have found since my first day of spirituality. And so many of us, when we come to find spirituality, anything, not even spirituality, just any lesson that comes to us, it comes over like a wave, and it completely changes us, changes our path, opens a new perspective. And I was discussing this with a client yesterday, how almost immediately we forget the lesson and we forget what we learned and we forget the application of it and what it made us feel like in holding that resonance. This is because of the ego, right? This is because of the ego. So I want you to think for a moment, real quick. Think of something that came as a truth for you that you have come to discover, whether it's through your spiritual practice or really anything else. And the moment, as an example for me, I'll use the example of the ego and how we come to be, we always, even people in spirituality, we always try to fight off the ego, right? And we're ashamed of it, and we want to get rid of it, and we think that it's blocking us from our happiness, and waiting for some spiritual finish line where we're all content and reaching enlightenment and alignment completely, fully, nothing's getting us out of there. And this is not the purpose of spirituality at all. Where we mess up the most is thinking that our happiness lies in spirituality, in reaching a certain perfection, whether it's emotionally, mentally, spiritually, whatever, or all of those. And we get so upset at ourselves when we aren't there that we drive ourselves further away from that. And this happens with me a lot. You'll see this around the world a lot in application. Why is that happening? Because that's not how things are designed. Spirituality, the purpose, the heart and soul and the golden treasure chest of spirituality is the spiritual effort that you make along the way. It is your relationship with your ego. It is your relationship with your negative side that you don't want to confront and you don't want to talk about and you don't want to own. And it is also the light. It's holding everything as an embodiment. And the second you realize that the purpose of all of this is to strengthen your muscle of consciousness, of catching your ego, of working with it, of working with your dark parts, and not just simply being happy all the time or being enlightened all the time. Okay, sorry about this, but we have to do it with this poor quality because my camera is just out of memory. So we're going to do this via laptop because the message has to come in. And once you understand that this changes everything, this changes every single stressor, interaction, challenge, trigger that you come by, because it changes the game. And this for me was a huge bright-eyed epiphany that came to me, a huge light bulb moment, and how quickly it sank into my body, and I felt at peace with everything and content, and nothing needed to be rushed because everything was perfect as it was, and feeling so right, feeling in alignment with truth, with truth's truth. Changed everything. And the kicker is how fast we come out of that. And this is what I was discussing with my client, how quick we are to forget that truth that's trying to take a home in our body. And, you know, we look around us and we think that maybe there's something wrong with me. Like, why do I keep on forgetting these things? Why does it take so long, right? And the answer is very simple. There is, whenever we have a truth bestowed upon us, there are really two phases that happen. The first phase is when this truth comes from source and hits you in the perfect moment, space, and time that you are the most readily available to absorb this truth. And those are the light bulb moments. Those are the moments of profound understanding. And those moments take such a resonance in our body physically that we feel in tune, aligned, tapped in with source, with the vortex, with your soul, whatever the energy is, or whatever the word that you have to call that energy. And that truth, after it's hitting you there in your soul and your heart, the reason why it does so is because that's really the first time that we can ever get a glimpse of, whoa, there's something out there past what I'm used to. There's a deeper truth, one that's bigger, that's not rooted in fear or shame or worry, anxiety, nervousness, that is rooted in love, in unity, in harmony, that I'm not tapped into. And that moment comes to us to help us see, okay, there's more than what I know. There's more than what I've been taught, and there's more than how I've been operating as. And then once that truth comes to hit us and show us that there's more, it transforms into how I see it as a mental bullet point. Nothing more than just a bullet point on the list of things we've learned along life. And it starts to just take place, it takes home in your mental mind, in your logical mind. Okay, now I know this. And this is when you see people really operate from a place of ego, right? This is the number one way of how ego slips into spirituality. Because people will quickly forget to have that truth take physical place in their home, to embody it in their temple, their inner temple, their body. And it becomes just something we learned. It becomes a logical fact, as if we're about to be tested on what we know on spirituality. And then that's when the ego slips in and completely operates on this leverage point that makes us feel like we're more spiritual than we actually are, because we know the spiritual truths, we know the facts that keep us in alignment, that can take us to enlightenment. but they're all experienced on a mental level, and they don't reach past the ego's bubble. It doesn't reach past the first consciousness, that is the ego. And from that point forward, it is up to you to constantly remind yourself of that truth by catching where your ego still operates. So for me, I know I had that mental truth that okay, I don't need to be perfect. The goal isn't just complete enlightenment and to be happy 100% of the time. The goal is to catch my ego, to catch that consciousness slipping, to catch those moments where I can't be the most conscious and love myself through that. That's the goal. That's the point. And for me, I have to remind myself that truth that I learned, that bullet point that I took on a mental note, and apply it to the physical tension and frustration and resistance that I'm feeling in the now moment in which I'm feeling it. So I'm going through a hard time right now. I'm beating myself up because I'm just not happy today, because I'm worried about how the future is going to unfold, because I'm worried about my business, or if I'm going to be taken care of, if I'm going to be secure enough. The true challenge is to catch those moments where that ego's operating. It's feeling safe, it's gaining its power, and applying that bullet point truth to pierce through that first consciousness so that the light can pour in and that I can transform and embody that light truth that I've come to know in the first place. Truth is a process, because it's first coming to a place to be open to receiving it. Actually, I should say the first part is going through the struggle of life, whether that's your whole childhood, like whatever it was, going through that struggle. The second part is then being in a place to be open to receive that bigger truth. The third place is it taking space in your mental mind. And the fourth and most important, which is the ultimate process, is the constant reapplication into our physical realm, not just keeping it in our mental space, but bringing it down onto a body level, and to remind back our spirit and fully incorporate all three of those things and lock that truth in and embody it so that it can start taking place and operating on a real physical level. And the reason why this is a process is because our sponge years are over, right? When we're kids, when we're young, when we're just just absorbing everything around us in our environment, those are over. And now we're operating off of comfort, we're operating off of muscle memory, we're operating off of belief systems that our egos absorbed when we were little. And we have to be the ones, our consciousness has to be the ones to slowly apply that back in a physical sphere, in a physical sensation experience, in moments where it hurts the most, where we forget those the most, and constantly reapplying it. Constantly reapplying it and reminding ourselves of it, no matter how repetitive it feels, because we're doing the same repetitive bullshit patterns anyways. So that's the truth that I have. That's the lesson I have. Again, like I said, please excuse this laptop quality video, but it needed to happen. This message needed to come in. And that's it. That's all I have to say. You guys are amazing. And I'll see you soon with another video. Bye.